Look, we've talked about the PlayStation 5 on this channel, especially over the last few months, and one of the biggest, baddest, most awesome things about the PlayStation 5 is the incredible speed of the PS5's solid-state drive, the storage that basically runs the PlayStation 5. The ability for this thing to load into games incredibly quickly. Obviously, the Xbox Series X and S have their own NVMe drive, which is extremely fast, but you're looking at something that might be close to twice as fast in the PlayStation 5. Now, something that we've maybe not totally accounted for is the fact that in the Xbox Series X and Series S, they are shipping with a 1 terabyte custom NVMe solid state drive, whereas the PlayStation 5 has its own custom SSD, which is approximately 825 gigabytes. Obviously, that's smaller, and in a world where games like Call of Duty are well over 200 gigabytes, that could start to be a problem really quickly. And it turns out that the problem is actually worse than even that. If we jump over here to Twitter and we look at the imagery here, so this is tweeted by a guy named Okami, and apparently this was attached to this video, which has been removed, and it is a review kit of the PlayStation 5, and it shows that Astro's Playroom is going to come installed, and after that you're actually looking at 667 gigabytes of usable space. Now, I shouldn't say after that, because after that you've got 648 gigabytes of space. So your total usable space on your PS5 is not the 825 gigabytes that the hard drive is. It's actually only 667 gigabytes, and that is not a lot of space. You're talking about Call of Duty twice, and this thing is essentially almost totally full already. Now, we should have not been super surprised by this, because obviously the OS and certain things are going to have to take up space on that drive, but this is going to do nothing but exacerbate the problem that the PlayStation 5 already was going to have, having a smaller hard drive. Now, luckily on the PlayStation 5, if you pull off one of the faceplates, there is a spot where you can install your own M.2 drive. And this is something that I've talked about on a video already. It's right underneath the faceplate there. Boom, you've got access to that SSD port, that expansion slot. Now, the next question is, well, now that it looks really, really clear that you're going to need to use that M.2 expansion slot, is what is this going to cost me? And later on in the video that I just cited, and I'll kind of repeat this a little bit, I go on to talk about Western Digital has the first M.2 drives that will be compatible with the PlayStation 5, because keep in mind that incredible speed, read-write speed that the PS5 will have with its onboard memory has to be matched by that M.2 drive, or it won't work with the PlayStation. So to get an M.2 drive with that kind of speed, you're looking at another $230 from Western Digital to get another terabyte of storage. This has to be a consideration if you're buying a PlayStation 5. Now, we know the Xbox Series X and Series S have their own little custom, plug and play expansion, which is going to run you about the same $200+ for a terabyte of storage. But you're probably going to already start off with 150 or more gigabytes of more storage on your Xbox than on your PlayStation. At the end of the day, these games are either going to have to get smaller, or the storage is going to have to get much cheaper. Now, these M.2 drives will come down in price over time. It's very new. It's a new sort of M.2 drive because it's using a newer form of PCIe, which is faster. These prices will come down, and there is reason to think that maybe games will get smaller. So in the past, games would actually have multiple different versions of the same texture, going from their highest resolution all the way down to their lowest resolution, and they would do this so that if you were far away from a texture, they would load in the lower resolution version of that texture to save space on RAM. It's called level of detail, or LOD. If you're playing on a PlayStation 5 with a really fast solid state drive, it's possible they could literally just stream this stuff much more quickly. You've got more RAM as well, so it's possible that maybe you don't need to have all those different versions of the same texture. Maybe you just have the high-res texture, and that's all you need. Or maybe rather than having 3, maybe you just have 2. Is the VRAM and the system RAM now enough? Is it sufficient now to not have to have this many copies of the same texture? And by doing that, could you then reduce the overall size of the game? Or could you use something like DLSS to up-res textures, or some sort of upscaling or something like that to also use lower res textures and save space. Who knows? It's possible. Games need to get smaller. Storage needs to get cheaper. Your PS5 is not going to have 825 gigabytes of free space. Unfortunately, to reiterate here, you're only going to have 667 gigabytes of usable space on your PlayStation 5 at launch. So that $220 terabyte upgrade is going to be something you're more than likely going to have to do before too long. Keep in mind that, the alternative here is just to uninstall and re-download games. Well, guys, I'm not going to tell you anything you don't already know. PlayStation Network is brutally slow, and downloading games is not fun on the PlayStation 4. My internet, I'd get like half of my internet speed trying to download something. So unless they really, really worked on PlayStation Network and the download speeds in the PlayStation 5, I don't see that as a reasonable workaround, especially, like I said earlier, when games can be over 200 gigabytes. You're going to hit your data cap really quickly downloading something like that multiple times. So guys, stay tuned for more PlayStation 5 coverage as more news launches. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends. If you enjoy my content, please consider becoming a Scary If Literal member. You'll get access to a whole bunch of emoticons to use with live streams and a shout out on an upcoming video. Thanks as always for your continued support.